Hi, and welcome back to The Vision Within. Today is January 6th, 2018, and we thought it might be appropriate, as most people are thinking about diets and New Year's and so forth, to just address that whole issue. And so anyway, we are your hosts. I am Lori.
I'm Katrina.
Loretta.
And I'm Lisa.
All right. Well,
Awesome.
So we were talking a little bit before we turned the camera on about, like you said, diets, the new year. Everybody's kind of looking for how to start the new year as healthy as possible. And I love that. I think it's a great, I don't want to call it a resolution. I'll just say maybe lifestyle change or something that is really going to support the consciousness that they want to be in for the new year.
That's a really good point. I think that in order for us to become more in tune spiritually, we have to really take care of what we're putting in our bodies, you know. And when we talk about diet, it's not really maybe a crash diet to lose weight, right? It's just to just give ourselves a healthier lifestyle.
Right. There you go. Well, I was talking a little bit about a friend who had done a ketogenic diet, and she chases around a 5-year-old and she's a single parent, and she is about 6 months ago she went on a ketogenic diet. Now, I will tell you, there are some different versions of ketogenic diet out there. Some of them are very, very high protein. However, the one that I am most familiar with in working with people with chronic illness, especially cancers, is the ketogenic diet. And so my understanding of that diet is it's very similar to a plant-based vegan diet in that there is no sugar, there is no meat, and there is no, sugar, meat, dairy. So all of those things create inflammation and an acidic condition within the body. Now, I don't believe that there's any one way that's right for every body all the time. Our bodies go through different phases, just like the earth, the sun, the moon, the seasons, that kind of thing. So, but my friend that chose this lifestyle change said that her energy level went through the roof, her hormones balanced, and after about 60 days, she said she didn't see much of any change within the first 60 days, but at that 60-day mark, she said things started to really shift. The weight on her body shifted. And, hi, baby.
We have a little kitty.
We have a friend.
That's a Loki.
This is Loki. Lisa's kitty.
She's our mascot.
Hi, Fresh. How are
Loki, you
ya?
can get down now.
She's a good girl.
Good girl, yeah.
But she said that she noticed that her energy level, the way her weight was balanced in her body, all of that changed. But the thing she noticed the quickest was how she woke up in the morning, which really shifted her entire attitude and outlook for the day. And when we talk about food as medicine, we don't always think about that. But anyway, so I don't think there's any one way that's right for everybody. And so I know for me, a little bit of animal protein at this point in my life is something that definitely supports my energy level, health, and that kind of thing. So some, white meat or fish, wild caught, I can tell a difference and feel a burst of energy when I eat those kinds of foods. So what about you guys? What do you find works for you, and what are some shifts that you're thinking about making in the new year?
Well, for me, it's almost just to be more natural and not really the term holistic, but I've been looking at the Whole30 diet,
Yes.
where you just kind of get so that's one part. I've also done some investigation on the there's that diet that's eat right for your blood type, and looking at that. I just recently sent my saliva in to do that. So that 23andMe,
I've done that
right?
before.
Exactly.
I've done that
So that's
too.
interesting too.
Oh, the
There's
ancestry?
Yeah, because there's actually a company that once you have these DNA results, there's also a company that can help you put together a diet based upon your DNA. The point is that it's very confusing. When you talk about that keto diet, I'm thinking about also there's people at work that are doing this keto diet, but it's all nothing but animal protein and fats. So I'm really so confused. But I tell you what I have noticed is I have noticed that and I've recently kind of been doing away with anything packaged or made because it's really not food. It's just a synthetic bunch of chemicals put together. When I can really pay attention to not have so much sugar in my diet, which includes not eating pre-made foods, just trying to do more basic. You
Right.
might even want to consider it to be that paleo diet.
Right.
I feel much better. Now, one thing that I haven't completely given up yet, which I'm on the verge of doing so, is wine. And that's a lot of sugar, right? But I enjoy
Yeah,
having a
it
glass
is,
of wine, So I'm on the right track, I think, of giving up the sugary substances and, not the prepackaged stuff. Kind of somewhat difficult. I've got my favorites. I mean, I love biscuits and gravy. I probably haven't had biscuits and gravy in 5 or 6 months, So it's a natural transition. You can't just wake up one day and flip a light switch and say, oh my gosh, I'm going to eat nothing but 100% organic.
You can, although I don't know that it's sustainable over the long term as
That's
a
what my
lifestyle
point-
change.
yeah, exactly.
I think any of us have the will and fortitude to do something for the short term, but to really impact long-term health, longevity, etc. I think it takes a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
What I love about what you said is that something to consider is really when you do like a high-protein diet, the organs or systems within the body that are impacted include mostly the kidneys. So that's a huge factor to keep in mind. And so you want to make sure that before you start any new dietary regimen as you shift, you want to make sure you consult with your healthcare practitioner so that they can support your body and make sure that before you make those shifts that your organs and systems are all functioning at maximum capacity, best capacity, so that you can process this new change.
That's interesting. I'm glad you mentioned that.
Absolutely. The other thing is the high fats are really good for you, even the great fats. And your liver and gallbladder together process fats. So it's important that you know that your liver is functioning really well before you take on a high-fat diet so that you don't stress an already stressed organ or system. What about you, Lisa? I know you are one of the healthiest people that I know.
Oh,
yes.
You are.
Well, I came down
Definitely.
with a cold, and after I bragged that I hadn't had a cold in like 5 years. But it was a good reminder of what we can go through when we get a little under the weather. But yes, I think too. I agree with all of you that it's a step by step, and it can't really be done with just a flip of a switch. Going from a dark room to a light room. Yeah. However, I really do truly think that we're evolving into a higher frequency, a crystalline body rather than a carbon-based body, and as a result of that, we're naturally going to gravitate toward higher frequency foods, which we've been told at least are the plant-based. And so I didn't plan. My little girl here, Loki, she's a
crazy.
wildfire. Come here, sweetheart.
Did you bring me a toy? She brought me her little bug.
I'm gonna have to.
That's sweet.
She's excited.
There's
I
good
can't
energy in here today.
So I think I did not plan. I think I've mentioned before on the past episodes that I eat vegan now. I did not plan to do that at all.
Really?
No, absolutely not.
Just a natural transition for
It
you.
really was. I mean, about 5 or 6 years ago, I woke up. I have to look at the calendar. I don't even know exactly. But I woke up one day and said, "Wait a minute."
What is she
The little
doing?
rumbling is she's playing with a toy. Little Loki, I have. And I woke up one day and I said, "Wait a minute! I haven't had red meat in a year. What's that all about?" Because I just realized it had been like a year.
Oh my gosh.
And then a year later, I woke up and said, "Wait a minute! I haven't had chicken or turkey in a year." And with red meat, I included the pork in that.
Yes.
And I thought, well, how did that happen? Because I thought, oh, I'll always eat turkey and chicken. I get the free range, and it's really good. And
Sure.
when my kids grew up, every Sunday we had a chicken dinner, baked chicken dinner, and the mashed potatoes and gravy. And my dad loved the sausage and biscuits and all that and the gravy. I loved that too when I was growing up. And then about 6 months later, I woke up and said, "Wait a minute, I haven't had fish." And then I thought, I'll never give up eggs. Eggs are great. I was eating a lot of eggs. And then, another 6 months, a year later, I wasn't eating eggs.
Oh my gosh.
And then I said, I'm really going along, but I'm kind of hoping that
it's
you guys
okay.
understand. And then I woke up later and said, "Wait a minute," because I said, "Oh, I'll never give up cheese. Never." And then I woke up and said, well, wait a minute, I'm not eating cheese or any dairy products. You know, I thought, oh, I'll have yogurt because it's so probiotic. And
Now, what about like a glass of wine sometimes?
oh no! And then I woke up.
Yeah.
I full disclosure, I represented Anheuser-Busch for 13 years and represented the Indiana wineries, all the Indiana wineries in Indiana. There's like almost 100 for 11.
Wow.
And I really never liked beer, but I loved wine. And I woke up and wait a minute. Well, you know, in Bali, when my daughter and I went to Indonesia for my 60th birthday last year, didn't drink any wine, nothing, no alcohol the whole time. I didn't even think about it.
Right.
When my sister and I went to Italy back in 2010, I didn't drink any of the Italian wine.
my
Can you
gosh.
believe that?
Yeah.
I just didn't want to.
Yeah.
So eventually, I just woke up and I wasn't drinking my alcohol of choice, wine, you know, red wine.
So I'm curious about whether, so it sounds like you weren't focused on it, like you sort of let it go.
No, it wasn't a diet.
And as you let it go,
Right.
all of these things, they just started to fall away, like your craving for these things just sort of left. And
well, my craving left. I didn't even intentionally let it go.
then, okay, so your
I
craving
did
left.
not intentionally let it go.
So I'm curious about whether these things were evolving for you at the same time.
Yeah.
Can you draw a parallel in any way to
Yeah.
the self-awareness,
I can.
self-study, and spiritual awakening that you've experienced?
I can. All this exponential. Well, about when I was 40 or 41, I went down to. I didn't even know what vegan was, or chakras, or Reiki, or anything. I went down to a vegan spa with my sister for 5 days down in Florida, and it was a Fit for Life spa. I had no idea. I just wanted to get away to Florida for 5 days. And my sister said she'd go with me. And vegan, what's that? I thrived on it. I came back and I told my husband at the time, I said, I'd really like to at least go on a vegetarian diet. He said, no, you can't do that. That's too disruptive, because he loved my cooking and everything. So I said, okay, I won't. But I knew it worked for me. And but I shelved it thinking I'd never do that. But then when I separated from my husband in January 2008, an exponential path occurred. It was almost as if I was catching up, because I did have this enlightenment experience down at the spa. I actually was having a one-on-one, what turns out to be, I guess, like a Reiki session, and I could not feel my body like a foot out, and I didn't know, I wasn't feeling the table, and I saw a big sun in my head. And it was almost like I don't know if we need to delete this or not, but it was almost like a full body orgasm. Every atom and cell of my body was tingling, and it felt so good. But I shelved all that for another 15 years or so. And then as soon as, let's see, not 15 years, let's see, 40, I'm 61 now, so, less than, a little over 10. So in 2008, when Kevin and I split up in January 2008, we didn't get our divorce final until the summer of 2010, but we were no longer seeing each other and totally separated and everything. I started having all these metaphysical experiences. It was as if I was similar to what I had down in Florida, but even a lot more detailed and bizarre. And out-of-body experiences and all this kind of thing. And I think that, I don't know how this happens. I think it just turns on.
Right. I agree.
I think it does.
What about you? I know your journey's been very different, and so what do you find works best for you? And is there anything that you want to stop, start, or continue coming into this new year?
Yeah, actually, it's a really positive transition for me this year, and similar to you, Lisa. Back like 10 years ago, I had made a big shift. I was on my own after a long marriage, and I had tried many times to get off of Diet Coke, and just couldn't. And I thought, really it's the fizziness that I like, and so I just started drinking fizzy water, and I'd put a little bit of juice in it. Never went back. I never had cravings, and then all of a sudden, just like you, I noticed I hadn't eaten red meat or pork in months.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden my diet had gotten healthier. But I've had a very interesting journey with food and the psychology, really, of eating and eating disorders and all different kinds of things. And this year, I'm really embracing nourishment. I'm embracing nourishing my soul, nourishing my spirit. And what I am drawn to are alkalizing foods. So things that are very anti-inflammatory naturally, but creating an alkaline and calm state inside my body. And so like I just have started connecting with some friends that do, like our friend Allie, who does, these amazing food things. I'm going to do a little series called Food for Thought. And just, I was really aware just before Christmas how much my thoughts were impacting my health. And when we eat things that remind us of home or remind us of really positive memories, we feel so happy and nourished. And so I've started taking like old recipes that my mom would make, or eating for the season, and but make them in healthy ways. And my gosh, I just find like my creativity gets all lit up when I've got music playing when I'm cooking, and I don't even measure anything, I'm just kind of dancing, a little of this, a little of that, and I've made the best food ever.
That's great.
And so to me it isn't a diet as much as just nourishment.
And the love and joy of dancing and being happy goes into the food.
Absolutely.
I mean, it really makes a difference, they say.
Oh my gosh.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
It totally raises the vibration.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's awesome because I can tell you that, so on my mother's side of the family, her father and his family came from Czechoslovakia. And so there is this dish called glumki, which is stuffed cabbage essentially. And so this year for Christmas, that's what we made. And we did it all by hand. We didn't use any food processors. We didn't use anything. We turned on great music. We danced around like a bunch of yahoos, my mom and dad and I. And we made my great-grandmother's recipe for glumki, and it was so wonderful. We did it in a healthy way. And we, just doing that. And I remember this is the one dish where, because I spent a couple years as a vegan and then went to vegetarian, and then when I had, a major health event, or awakening, as I now like to call it, I thought, holy smokes, not understanding at the time. I changed my diet, of course, but, at the time I didn't realize how much my emotions had really impacted my health at that point. But anyway, when I was vegan, if I walked into my parents' house and my mother was making that dish, and she used to make it with beef and pork sausage. When I would walk into the house, neither of which I eat anymore, by the way, or very, very, very rarely, I would walk into the house and I started salivating like Pavlov's dogs. And part of it was, and I just thought, oh my gosh, and I wouldn't eat it. And so it just made me think there's some parts of it that I think are in our DNA. There's some parts of it that are emotional, because that was my family. That was the way my great-grandmother's house smelled. It reminded me of my grandfather and my family, and it just felt very warm and loving. And so I think that plays a big part into our food and our health. And
there's a lot of DNA memory around food.
I agree. So I think there are different parts of it. And I also think that when we are connected, much like you were, and in awakening, and you start letting go of beliefs and working on, creating the life that you want, things naturally do start to fall away at certain times when our understanding grows, and it restructures our belief systems, not just around how we view the world, but how we view nourishing ourselves. So I thought it was really interesting to kind of think about that. So anything anybody's going to do differently in the coming year? I know you said you're going to nourish yourself differently. What do you think you would like to do differently, add in or take away or enhance?
Yes, from a food perspective, right?
Sure, yeah. Food or drink.
Yeah, food or drink. Over the last couple of weeks, I've been getting some very clear messages, right? And there's a lot of things that I need to really cut out, and I'm just going to pay attention to that. And it does go back to more holistically. I mean, my goal is to have more of a clearer spiritual channel, and so in order to do that, I do need to give up the wine, and and it's not like I'm alcoholic, right? But I enjoy when I'm cooking. I enjoy having the glass of wine. So there's a lot of things that I need to take a look at and just become more holistic about. And I've been fighting the messages that I've been getting to do so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I've done that too. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah. It's like I hear it, I acknowledge it, but I'm just choosing to, and I've, it's becoming more and more, it's almost like that saying, like first you hear the whisper and then it becomes like a huge screaming pounding. I'm getting the huge screaming pounding now. So I need to pay attention to that. Yeah.
That's awesome. What about you, Miss Lisa?
Well, I was just thinking while we were all talking, a couple weeks ago, I looked in. I had never heard of it before. Have you ever heard of breatharians?
Yes, I saw your article. I was going to bring it
Yes.
up.
Yes.
So a couple of weeks ago, I was looking that up and watching some of the videos of this young man who's a breatharian, and I was so really surprised in myself when he offered the idea that we're addicted to air, not air. I think we are addicted to air. He didn't go into that, but addicted to food and water.
Yes.
And he actually went without food for a whole year and very little water. And he does these conferences. He's doing one in Sedona in May. And you do like fruit the first day, solid fruit, juice the second day, water the third, and then the next 4 days, no water, is it called a dry fast and no food. So anyway, I got to thinking, what is that all about? And I used to say, I think we're going toward, like I said at the beginning of this, going toward a situation where we don't want to eat food. And I remember when I was a little girl, I didn't want to come in from the park. And I said, where's that pill I can take that I don't have to eat the food? Even though my mom was a great cook and I enjoyed her meals, I wanted to continue to play.
Sure.
So this breatharian says you save about 5 hours a day because you sleep less, because you don't have to digest as much. And you don't have to cook or shop for your food, and you save about $1,000 a month.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah.
Well, I think that is really interesting. And there are people, like I think I read an article, there's a woman in Asia who I don't think has eaten in 3 years. And it's very much the same.
Yeah, but I also know too that those people have become very, very good at actually getting their energy from around them, the earth. So they're still sustaining themselves.
Yeah.
But it's an energetic sustainment instead of an actual
It's
consumption.
a different kind of nourishment.
It is.
Yeah.
So you can't just say, okay, I'm not going to eat for 4 days. I
Right.
mean,
Right,
you
right.
have to really,
Right.
through discipline and meditation and guidance. I mean, to go through so that your body, because your body still needs the energy.
And you have to let go of that addiction or that belief that you're going to die. Because he had doctors try to disprove him. And he did a little documentary, or they wanted to do a documentary on it. And they filmed it for 8 days, and he didn't have any food or water. And they thought his blood sugar would change and all that, and it didn't.
Yes.
So I have a question, because what I know, or think I know, how about that, from my current belief system, is that raw foods and juicing are very cooling to the body. They don't create as much heat. You don't generate as much energy because you don't create that heat through digestion.
Right.
And so that's why the majority of the vegans that you see live in warmer weather year-round climates, because not only are the food sources that are fresh available year-round with the most nutrients available in them, because they're closer from picking to consuming, from earth to they call it from farm to table, but I call it from
farm to table.
I call it from vine to table myself.
yeah.
But so I think about that, and I'm wondering, do you remember offhand where he lives?
Well, he's from Israel. So
Oh, wow,
he lives
okay.
in Israel, but he travels all around. I think his name is like Ray Moore or something like that.
Okay.
But he's a husky guy. I mean, he's beautiful. He's young and long hair and muscular. Now, he said after these conferences, it's only like 50% success for people to go back and do breatharian. He said because the culture really looks at you and ostracizes you because you go to your Christmas dinner and you don't eat and they think you're nuts. Grandmother wants you to eat her mashed potatoes and gravy.
Right.
And so he said, but he considers success, the 50% success, not going back to no food and water forever, because he said he he incorporated food. He incorporates food now twice a month or twice a week, and so a little bit of water because he wanted to keep his muscles because he said he got way too thin.
Oh,
So he
okay.
doesn't look thin at all. Little girl.
Yeah.
She really wants to be in the mix of everything today.
Yes,
That's
we're
great.
gonna have to next segment. We're gonna have to figure out how to put her, occupy her or something.
Either that, or we should all just love on her all at one time.
Yeah.
She'll be like, "Get away from me!"
If she gets on my lap, but she won't get on my lap. She wants to explore you guys. So anyway,
Well, I'll just say one last thing about this. I forgot where I was going. Oh, I do remember where I was going. You might have to edit that. So I'll just say one more thing about that. I was watching a recent show on Gaia, and it was with a gentleman who was talking about time travel. And his part that he had played in time travel. And there's a lot to that. But one of the takeaways that I had around nutrition and how we view and what our belief system is about how we nourish ourselves, he said that when he was in his teens, he traveled forward in time in a military space program, and he spent some time in the future. And the person interviewing him said, well, what struck you most? And he said, well, I was very, so that we wouldn't create any kind of changes or anything, we were limited in what was available to us. But what I can tell you is that the people that I came into contact were much taller and leaner. And he said they looked like humans. They were humans, but they were much thinner and much longer. So there had been some kind of evolution in the way we nourish because we looked different. And I thought that is so interesting because we as a group have spoken about that before, how some of us have had dreams or visions where our bodies kind of are longer and leaner, or things start to fall away as you awaken, as you I won't say break through, but as your understanding grows of what some of our belief systems are. And so I just thought that was really interesting to add, because I think that, like you said, we're evolving to move toward what supports having a vessel that is a reflection of our vibrational consciousness. Holy smokes, we've been around the block, haven't we?
yes.
So we've talked about diet in the new year and lifestyle changes and what the differences are in those and how to sustain them and create healthful goals. Sometimes it takes a huge awareness and setting of goals, and sometimes it takes just, allowing your flow and your natural evolution to take place, and some of those things fall away. And we talked about some of our goals, and I think we all have some beautiful goals for the year. And I'll be excited to hear, maybe we come back mid-year and just kind of revisit this and say, hey, how are things going? What have you learned so far? What do you guys think about that?
That'd be awesome.
Awesome.
Like
Well,
Christmas in July.
I love that. Well, thank you for joining us on The Vision Within. I'm Katrina.
I'm Lori.
I'm Loretta.
And I'm Lisa.
Thank you so much. Join us on
Our
Rising
YouTube
our
channel.
YouTube channel.
That's
yes,
right.
Please
of The Vision
subscribe.
Within.
Yes, the Vision Within YouTube channel, and please subscribe and share.
Yes, and leave us comments. Anything you
That'd be
would like
great.
to hear would be fantastic. Or you can view our Facebook page at Rising Tides Global.
There you go. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.